Because this is a bit of an unhinged topic, I'm going to have to start today with a content warning. I do not advise watching this video if you are not above the age of 18. I will be discussing fanfic tropes/genres that are not safe for work. If you are a child, please click away. Now, having said that, today it is time to dive into the Omegaverse. I'm not gonna lie, it's a genre I don't personally like. I want to like this genre, but I just can't. Not that it's absolutely awful, there are just a few things I can't get over. Some are worse than others. Before we jump into my complaints, I need to give a bit of an explanation on what the Omegaverse is. For those of you who are currently in blissful ignorance, I am so sorry to be the one to pull you into the know, to take the wool off of your eyes. This is your last chance to stay blissfully ignorant. If you're still here, well, here we go. The Omegaverse, also called ABO, which stands for Alpha, Beta, and Omega, is a genre of erotic fiction that goes, what if the whole world were werewolves? But only the fun, sexy parts. There isn't any transforming into wolves, we just get the hierarchical structure and some of the instincts. In the Omegaverse, each and every person has two genders. The first is the normal, male, female, or other. The second is whether you're an alpha, a beta, or an omega, which I assure you is treated like a gender rather than a status. Since this is a genre of fanfiction, there isn't a solid canon on how this works. I'm going to give you the most commonly used guidelines. 90% of the population are betas, which are pretty much normal people. However, they can be affected by omegas. I'll explain what that means in a little bit. Then 5% are alphas. This fanfic trope leans into the old wolf studies, where alpha wolves were big, bad, and in charge because they are the most strongest, most dominant. So I'm sure you can guess how alphas act. You're right. They're usually assholes who the world bows down to. Alpha is the masculine gender to this trio. They feel the need to claim omegas, and whether an alpha is male or female, they can get others pregnant. The last 5 are omegas. Omegas are the soft and submissive, more feminine gender. Now, get ready for sexism too, the electric boogaloo. Omegas are seen as something to claim, and as weaker and more delicate than betas or alphas. Yeah, they go through all the same shit that IRL women go through, but turned up to 10. Whether an omega is male or female, they can get pregnant. Omegas are usually the only ones in this hierarchy that go into heat. Now let's talk about what going into heat means. When an omega goes through heat, they release a pheromone that makes them absolutely unresistible when it comes to sex. If an alpha is around, they will go into rut, and so will betas. Being in rut means they are uncontrollably horny. They will feel the need to be with the omega. The omega will feel like shit, achy puny, feverish, cramps, if they don't have sex with someone. They will also nest, which means they will collect a bunch of comfortable things into one spot and want to stay there. That is their nest. The smell of their alpha or soulmate will also help them feel better. ABO does like to use the soulmate fanfic trope a lot, so don't be surprised to see it. Depending on the fic, it might last 1 week or up to a month. Now, you know some of the basics of the Omegaverse. I can tell you what bugs me about it. Surprisingly, it's not entirely sexism too. I think it actually is kind of interesting and can be used as a tool to commentary on what real women go through when it comes to sexual harassment and social viewpoints. There are two things that really bug me. But before I get into that, I need to do another quick content warning. I'm about to talk about consent and mentions of rape. If that is a topic you are not comfortable with, I suggest clicking off. The first and more serious thing I hate about the Omegaverse is a symptom of sexism too. The genre has a lot of dubious consent in it. It leans heavily into animalistic instincts. In some fics, an Omega being in heat is treated as them giving consent for sex. Sometimes an Omega will even thank the Alpha, who did not wait for their consent. I'm sure at least someone is thinking, why does it matter? It's just fiction. I know that this is fiction, but it's important to talk about this. We have a way of letting what we read and watch impact our real-world view. If a thing is treated like it's okay in fiction, then those who read it will get that idea planted in their head, that it's okay. I'm not saying that someone who reads a lot of Omegaverse fiction will become a rapist. What I am saying is their definition of consent might become blurred. There is no bodily function that gives consent. Remember that. I need to make it clear here that I'm not asking for ABO to be censored. I'm just pointing out the flaws in its world building. I also need to make it clear that not every ABO fic has dubious consent. Some are extremely well written and explore the flaws in their world. Now it's time for some of the more pedantic reasons I don't like ABO. The terminology they use bugs me. I am in a position where I use some of these terms in the real world. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, what on earth am I doing where I use terms like heat and rut in real life? Well, I'm a dog breeder. Before you crucify me for being a breeder, I assure you we take extremely good care of our dogs. Anyone getting a puppy from us has to be vetted and meet our minimum standards. They have to fill out paperwork. If they ever give up the dog, we have to get the first option to get it back. We take pride in how we treat our dogs. We would never want them to get hurt or abused. And if you're very curious on how we treat our puppies while we're handling them, while they're still being whelped, I have a couple of videos documenting it. If I remember, I will link one in the description. If you are a big fan of ABO, even with its more questionable parts, and don't want it possibly ruined for you, this is your last chance to turn back. Okay, let's talk about terms that they just use wrong. The one that bugs me the most is heat. I'm about to tell you something mind-blowing. Humans actually go through heat. I'm not talking about the Omegaverse humans. I'm talking about real-life human beings with uteruses. It's called being on your period. I am not joking. When a female dog is in heat, all it means is she is on her period. If you don't believe me, look it up. So you can imagine why it bugs me how heats work in Omegaverse. Don't get me wrong. I understand that this is a genre of erotica, and it would be hard to make a period hot and sexy. Not to kink shame anyone, but periods are not sexy. Every time I'm reading an ABO fic, I can't handle it. I can't get over the fact I know the truth. Being in heat is just being on your period. Yeah, all the fun, sexiness, gone. Especially for people with awful periods. Which a bit of TMI here, happen to be one. I have periods with cramps that can literally knock me off my feet. So that might be a part of why I dislike this fanfic trope, or genre. Then there is the whole alpha, beta, and omega thing. Time to talk about wolves and the hierarchical structure of a wolf pack, because the Omegaverse is just werewolves without the fun of transforming into a wolf. Alpha, beta, and omega are terms being used to refer to wolves because of an old disproven scientific theory on the way wolf packs' internal hierarchies work. The truth of the matter is that is not how wolf packs work. Wolf packs are an extended family unit. The alphas are the moms and the dads. The betas and the omegas are the kids. This is an extreme simplification of the complex and interesting way wolf packs work. So please, don't just take my word for it. Do some research. So the way they use the terms helps spread the misinformation of Wolfpack's hierarchical structure, which bugs me. Yeah, I realize how preachy that last part is, but I don't like misinformation. This also brings me to how much I hate the way alphas are used in ABO. It feeds into toxic masculinity and the whole alpha male plague that we have going on. Just to make it clear, being an alpha is being a parent. Focusing only on the dominant side of that is just wrong. The thing that bugs me the most is it could have been used in such an interesting way to comment and criticize toxic masculinity and the way it's spread. But it's mostly played straight, and it's just not fun to read for me. Again, I know I'm nitpicking a genre of fanfiction, erotic fanfiction at that, but I'm allowed to complain about whatever I want. Also, I'd like to mention, again, it's important to criticize and see the flaws in any content we consume. What we read and watch will, to an extent, affect our worldview. If you see something enough, that thing becomes normal. And if something is normal, it fades into the background. Once it's in the background, then why pay attention to it? This is exactly how systematic issues get ignored and oppressed. Alright, I'll step off the soapbox. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's an awful, despicable fanfic genre. I'm saying it has issues and it's not for me. I get too caught up in some small details and it feeds into a worldview that I just don't like. In fact, I really hate that worldview. If you have listened to this whole thing, I don't know what to say, so I'm just gonna say, why not just wear real werewolves? And thanks for sitting to my rambling. I hope you enjoyed it, even just slightly.